sports psychologist talking to Kyrie Irving, because clearly no one talked to him early on, and it's such a important part that to make this trade really worthwhile is that it's not even going to be on who you draft or who you pick, but who is it going to be at that facility that's raising these kids and developing them into functional basketball players.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and there are just two things that I want to add is it really angered me in the aftermath of the Kristaps Porzingis deal that both him and his brothers were blamed heavily for the outcome of the whole trade and the situation, mostly by the fans. They turned their back on him after loving him and embracing him.
Right.
And what people must not forget is, and something that you mentioned is, they are from Europe. They are European. They have a different point of view on the whole infrastructure and the situation.
Exactly.
Porzingis, as a teenager, went to Sevilla, to Spain. He didn't speak any Spanish. He was afraid. He was by himself, and he had to pull through in order to become the basketball player that he was in his early years. Mm-hmm. His brothers both played basketball. They're not as fortunate talent-wise as Kristaps is. Mm-hmm. So they had to work very hard. I remember Kristaps telling me that he went to the gym where his brother played, Giannis, and Giannis trained so hard every single day in order to achieve just a little bit. He played second league in Italy. And obviously, if you are a family, you want the best for your brother, for your mom, for your father, for whoever.
Right.
And they came to New York, and they looked at the whole infrastructure that you mentioned and detailed and realized this is not the right place. We can put pressure out, but it won't be the place where Kristaps as a player and as a person can grow. And the second thing that I want to mention is people probably know David Thorpe, Coach David Thorpe, who
big fan
is
of
regularly
David Thorpe
on ESPN. He is just a brilliant mind because he's a basketball trainer.
Yep.
He worked with Udonis Haslem when he was younger, and
know him very well.
knows Kevin Knox because Knox's father was in Florida and played there, I think, in the NFL, and so he knows Kevin very well. And in one podcast, he said that Kevin is a brilliant player who at some point could be an all-star, but as long as he is in a project or in an organization like the New York Knicks, he won't succeed because he doesn't get the support that is necessary in order to become the great player. And these are massive red flags if people like this talk about the organization and give the assessment that he gave.
No, and the contrast, especially for someone like Kristaps, and this is where Knick fandom hurt themselves and make the situation worse, is they didn't learn anything. They did the worst thing Americans can do, is they go, oh, they're just a bunch of Europeans who don't know. Little do most Americans know that the European process for developing an athlete is some of the best in the world, and they start at very young age. They deal with psychology and the physical aspect of it. And Valencia, which is not a huge basketball, football, and everything else sports club, did a better job than the New York Knicks. That had to be shocking for those guys coming from these schools where they're taking guys like Luka from Slovenia, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mario Hezonja, who's from Croatia, who was at the FC Barcelona program. Yeah. Right.
And they're taking them as kids and they're teaching them to become professional athletes better than we do in college here, better than because the reason why college is so poor at it is because they don't have a truthful and honest conversation about what they are. But in Europe, they're making these kids' dreams come true. They're finding them all over the world, and when they bring them into their city, there is a structure there for them, and the Knicks fan base could have learned something, but instead they bashed Kristaps on the way out, and they never looked at it from an objective point of view to be able to go, you know what? And the media, the Knicks media, like I won't even mention any names because it turns out they listen to my podcast. You'd be surprised. But they didn't have an honest conversation either. They made it and demonized Kristaps instead of making it where a teachable moment for the fan base and for the organization who has to respond to their paying customer, which is the fan base. They could have learned something from the Kristaps Porzingis situation, but instead they made it about, oh, you're never healthy, you're never there on time, you're not that good, and like they killed this guy who was their savior, Porzingis, Porzingod. Like I couldn't believe that happened, but it just goes to show that a fish rots from its head, and as long as Dolan is there, all of these things, the fact that they work out where he used to go to college, the fact that they keep hiring these people who are really yes men to him, the fact that they can't have an overall basketball vision is because of what's coming in directly from him at the top, and it's sad. Now, in terms of let's switch gears a little bit. In terms of where the Knicks go from here, if you could have any scenario, what are 3 things that you would like to see that would say to you, change is coming and a better time is on the horizon?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it would need to start with an official statement from Leon Rose once he's installed as the new head of basketball operations, lining out the vision that you actually talked about, that he is honest about his newest endeavor, saying that he has no experience, but that he's intending to listen to other people, be inclusive, and try to find the right person for the right job. And I'm talking about the general manager position.
Does Perry make it?
I'm not so sure. I think that there's always a fascination of new hires in terms of we have to sweep the floors and everyone has to be replaced, because I don't want anybody from the old regime still like being in the office. I don't know if that's true with Leon Rose, but it would actually be a chance to bring somebody in, maybe a younger general manager who maybe doesn't have like a huge proven track record, but who shows that he comes from the school of Ainge or Morey or Dennis Lindsay or Sam Presti. Yes, somebody who comes in and actually has a great vision and can do the every single day work that is necessary, be on the phone with the teams, with agents, with scouts, with everyone that is important in this group. So this is something that I would really like to see, that there is an honest communication about the new situation, about the people on hand, and what they want to change. And that would be something that I would like to see as a fan. It wouldn't completely break off my pessimism, because I know that the foundation underneath is not very stable, and we heard pledges of improvement before. So in the end, it's always the results that matter, and the results are bad. The results are bad for the past 20 years, and something needs to change. And I think the first step is an honest and open communication, also with the media. No blocking out Stefan Bondi or Frank Isola. Keep them in. Do the Donnie Walsh way. Talk to them regularly, because if you talk to the media, they're not forced to find stories, but actually report on them, because you give them the quotes. Be open, be friendly, be intrigued by new possibilities of going new and modern ways when it comes to developing a team. And that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see from this new regime. But I think we just have to wait and see how everything folds.
Yeah, man. I the positive sign for me would be if he went and got now. Part of me doesn't want Perry to get fired. I don't feel that he got a fair shot. But at the same time, I think the new GM has to own. I mean, the new president of basketball has to own the whole thing. He needs to put his GM in. He has to, I would even change the public relations people.
Yeah.
No,
everyone.
No, exactly. When Sean Marks came in, he fired everybody. The trainers, the PR, like everybody had to go. If you were on the basketball side of things, you were gone. And so he basically owns the winning or the losing at that team. And I think Leon Rose has to do the same. The thing I would like to see him do that would give me a sign of hope is to just sweep away the arrogance of we're the Knicks, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and everything is going to be all right.
Yeah.
I want to hear we're going to do the work. We're going to be the best organization. We're going to hire the best people. We're going to have the most scouts. And we're going to create a development program that is going to nurture these kids and it's going to change everything about being a New York Knick and what Knick basketball means. If I can hear that from Leon Rose, then and see it in action and actually see him in control. Because Phil Jackson said a lot of things that sounded good, but at the end of the day, I never believed he was even all the way in. He's just too accomplished. He's too rich at this point. Like, really, like, what really motivates that guy at the end of the day? But if he can actually execute, and if let's see who he hires as GM, and let's see who he hires as coach, then I'm all for it. If he hires Calipari, which CAA, Kentucky, Calipari have always had a just unclean, and I think at the end we'll find out some horrible things about Calipari's time in Kentucky. But if they hire Calipari for this job, then I'm hearing the name being floated about. I don't believe it. I don't even think Calipari really wants to take the risk of coming to the NBA. He could just sit in Kentucky and just cash Nike checks and be, king of the universe. I don't know why he would come to the Knicks, but that CAA connection is there. He's given them a pipeline of players throughout the years, going all the way back to, guys like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and the like. I really hope that he's not the hiring. Who would you hire as your coach? Who's your pick as the Knicks' future coach?
That's a tough one because I really like a lot of young coaches in the league right now, but who are in a job and that you can pry away. I don't have one single coach, like one single mind on. A name on my mind where I say they have to hire this guy who's available right now, because I think that all of the good ones that we know are in a job, and then you have to look at assistant coaches, at people who sit in the second row and maybe are ready to take over. And so in all honesty, I see that there are a lot of construction sites with the Knicks everywhere. I don't know the Perry situation. I don't know if his job is safe or not. There are conflicting reports. So I don't know what his situation will be. But in all honesty, I saw some tendencies with him that I really don't like, and where I feel like he is not the right person to work with when it comes to creating just a modern basketball team.
Right.
Believing in Elfrid Payton for so long, and